What is going on, everybody? It is my honor to bring John Park and Matthew Zikry to the live stream. It's kind of awesome. Here I am.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Not much. I'm very excited about today. Super cool. Sorry it's a little bit early. I wanted to just accommodate their schedule. They're busy people. And I think John is going to do a demo for us today. But man, I'm just so excited to have you guys on here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's just, I've been a huge fan of what you've been sharing with it's on YouTube, and just watching like your live streams just for the past few months has been really inspiring. So just be on here is awesome, man. Thanks for inviting us out. No
problem. Thanks so much. I remember I was so excited when you popped in the live stream. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Yeah. Always really cool. Because I just kind of expected to just do this kind of in anonymity for a while and just, I don't know, maybe a couple years down the line that would happen. I would meet some people, but no, I'm really excited.
Well, hey man, like you said earlier, we got to meet each other through your live stream, so it worked out.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't for your live stream, I wouldn't know, who you were, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's good. That's part of the benefit of doing a live show like this, is that you can interact with them and sort of make your personality a little bit more on the forefront.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually your content, just kind of by accident. I was looking at some tutorials online for figure drawing and things like that, and your name popped up, and I was like, oh snap, dude, who's this modern name James guy?
Awesome.
Yeah, so I was really happy to find you and just connect.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And I fortunately I did some clickbait stuff where I threw Kim Jong-gi's face in the thumbnail, and that seemed to work for a little while. Got my name out there a bit, so that was cool. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was, because I was like, learn how to draw like Kim Jong-gi. Like, I'm in, dude.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Where do I learn how to do that?
I heard this YouTuber. He's not for the guys here on YouTube. The game theorist Matt Pat was talking about it, and he was talking about how YouTube has this thumbnail algorithm that it recognizes the thumbnail and it'll compare it to other videos of that nature. So I posted his name in there, and I posted his face on the thumbnail, and it somehow worked. And then for a couple of days, my video was the first thing that came up when you search Kim Jong-gi.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so the YouTube gods blessed me a little bit.
Can you imagine Kim Jong-gi going, what is happening? How come
draw like me?
He's like, who is this? What? Who is this loser? What is he talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, man, he's the nicest guy.
That's great.
He's honestly one of the most artists, especially for his caliber. He's such a badass.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Some people are asking, can you present the guest? I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what they mean by that. It seems on YouTube I can see your screen, so I don't know what they're talking about. Don't listen to them.
Can everyone else see what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. We can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Because if maybe.
Yeah, let me just make sure.
Maybe there's some connection issues or something.
Or I mean, maybe they were late comers, so just the introduction of John Park and myself, Matthew Zikry, is what they're looking for.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That kind of introduction.
Yeah, actually, maybe we can just kind of talk about. It's kind of silly to assume that everyone knows.
I honestly assumed that everybody knew who you were.
Maybe. I mean, I'll go ahead first, and then we can rope Matt in. Park, and I am a film concept artist working on the West Side. I currently work for James Cameron on the Avatar sequels, and I've worked on films such as Deadpool, Star Wars, Rogue One, and Godzilla, and other blockbustery type of films.
Awesome.
a lot of my professional experience comes from doing more filmic work, and yeah, that's kind of where I stand. I educationally I went to Art Center, College of Design, Pasadena, and I studied there under their product design program, and before I switched over to doing concept design. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 10 years. And outside of just doing professional work, I also run a school in Burbank called um, Brainstorm School. I run it with one of my good friends, James Pake. And yeah, that's kind of my introduction, I guess.
Awesome.
Sweet. And yeah, I guess I'll go next. So my name is Matthew Zikry. What's going on, guys? I'm a concept artist in the film and game industry as well. Majority of my work has been a lot of freelance for games. A few of my clients were NCSoft, Real Effects, Scribblepad, where we handled a good amount of just big AAA studios out there. And before that, I was just John's student. I mean, still to this day, I'm John's student. Always will be. He's an awesome instructor, and great amount of wealth to learn from him. So that's kind of a little bit of my background and where I come from.
Very cool. I have some questions. So one I want to know is, how do you balance the like trying to stay artistic but then also dealing with like Hollywood types and trying to deal with, I guess, the industry of Hollywood or the video game industry?
It can get a little bit overwhelming when you're working in the industry. I mean, like it really consumes a lot of your time and your creativity. So the way I found a good balance was just to go home and do my own thing, even if it's for 15 minutes. I found that to be very healthy for me as an artist. Like it really kind of rejuvenates a lot of the things that I missed about being an artist. And not to knock down the idea of being a professional artist. It's just that when you're doing so much creative work for someone else or for another project, I kind of feel like you kind of feel checked out,
Yeah, definitely.
And keep that balance. I've been feeling really energized when I come home and just do like a 15 to 30 minute drawing or painting for myself, just to kind of exercise that part of my muscle. But pretty good. I hope to do it more, in the future. But yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been really enjoying these Komodo Rider sketches that you've been doing. I've been checking up on Instagram.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
They're awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I'm trying to think. So yeah, we were talking earlier before the stream started. We were talking about some misconceptions of concept art in general, and maybe talk a little bit about what your day to day is like.
Let's see here. I guess kind of started off by talking about like the expectations and standards of the industry, and then I'll roll it into like what to expect on a day to day.
Sure.
And Matt, you can chime in please, because you have such a wealth of experience on that too. I guess when I first started out, like there wasn't really much of the internet and Facebook community that talks about how to get into the industry, and I think that's kind of a blessing in disguise, because I found that what do you call it? I was taught to just do just line drawings as a form of production art, and I didn't know what production art meant until I got into when I first got my internship.
Okay.
At a small studio, and basically what production art is doing a series of line drawings that are highly descriptive, to help build for a video game or for a set or an asset, um, and this is just to really help of of kind of like making it real, right? So
Yeah.
or if you're a production artist, you need to do a drawing, and that drawing gets handed off to a 3D modeler, and the 3D modeler models it based off your drawing, and then he or she will come back to you and say, okay, this is great. I need a colored version of this. Paint your drawing.
Okay.
And then that will be cross-referenced again for the texturing, and then it becomes implemented into the game or the film, and that's
Okay.
typically what the workflow is.
That's really cool that you
how's
bring
it
that up,
goes.
because I think online we see a lot of like just photo bash stuff. We see a lot of we don't really see too much line drawing work done there. And honestly, even my own conception of it, I just did line drawings because I really like doing line drawings, and it's just the style that I'm into.
Yeah.
But you could get the perception that nobody does that in the industry, and it's
Yeah. you know what it's funny. I mean, I think that like stop painting or anything like that, but I'll say I think a lot of it has to do with when you do a drawing, it's not as appealing as doing a painting,
yeah.
right? So especially when you think about it in terms of like social media, people might see a painting getting a lot more attention than a drawing. So there's kind of like this shift of like efforts of like, oh man, maybe I should just do a painting, then I'll get more likes. If I get more likes, then people like me as an artist, then I might get a job. Unfortunately, that's not how the industry works. That's how social media works, but industry works, and that's the big difference.
Yeah, I think as well, because like in the end, you have to know what the purpose of your drawing or painting is for, because it's not about creating the pretty image. It's going to be about the final product, whether that is a video game, a film, a character designer, or whatnot. So when you're trying to think of purpose as far as technique goes, like say photo bash, the purpose of photo bashing is usually about speed. Speed and being able to turn around a quick idea in order to start taking it to the next process, the next step in the process. So to get out more information, and a lot of production work is going to be about getting something that you can hand off to the modeler. That is when you're going to find yourself in a better direction, I guess, as far as breaking in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah. Shoot, what else is there? I'm just like
I have a question actually. Now I'm thinking about it. So a lot of times I'll see photo bash pieces online, or I'll look at some work done by people, and a lot of the photo bash seems very high level. It seems like, okay, this is when everything's put together, this is what it's going to look like. Would you say that more of the more people are put towards creating those final drawings of individual assets, like more production art?
Yeah, when there is production, when there is photo bashing involved, because photo bashing, I'll kind of explain like how photo bashing came about. It's to really help sell the final look and product. That's all it is, right? If you're developing a game that has to look realistic or photographic, then you're gonna photo bash, because that's gonna give a lot of the art directors and the executives kind of an idea of like what kind of game or film that they're investing in.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
And so, but that doesn't really help the production. Meaning, it doesn't help who's working next to you, trying to make this painting or drawing that you did come to life. It doesn't help if the photo bash is just kind of like this really undescriptive image that is hidden by textures and atmosphere.
Yeah.
So they need to see like a little bit more information, and where that comes into play, where drawing comes into play is really when you need an artist to help translate that that image, that photo bash into a production drawing, and that's typically what gets developed in house, then handed off to a modeler.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and I think another misconception that a lot of people have, and I even had early on, is that I think you probably heard it 1,000 times, but people will regard photo bash as cheating, and I can tell you that it is not cheating. I have so much trouble with it. It is not an easy thing to do. Obviously, it helps, and maybe some things like texture and whatnot, you get it, I guess, for free, people will say, but like at the same time, doing it in a productive manner, it takes some skill.
You know, when I'll be honest with you guys, when I first started drawing and painting, I thought photo bashing was cheating, only because you know, when you start off in art, you think to yourself, you're like, well, you know, you're not drawing it from scratch. You know, how is that art? Art is supposed to be something that's purely out of your imagination, purely done from nothingness, and you're supposed to come out with something. That is the perception that we have growing up, understanding what art is. You know, like traditional art is basically that. It's basically, you know, just coming up with an image off a blank canvas with no aid, no help, nothing. But I'm going to say this, and this is for the record, that's real art, meaning that's art that you would hang on your walls.
Yeah.
That's art that you would buy at an auction, or you know, something that you would look at in a gallery. What we are as a concept art group is we're not traditional artists. We are commercial artists, and commercial artists, basically, we are a part of a development process. That's what we are. So photo bashing is just a part. It's a technique that's supposed to help with a part of that process. It's not for everyone, and it's not for every project, but it's just another
thing
method
that you can use. Yeah, that's great. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I try to encourage all the students and everybody, because like obviously everything I do on the channel is pretty much geared towards draftsmanship, drawing, and perspective. But I always try to encourage them to do these techniques and never be shameful about them, because they're not cheating and they're used. You need to use them in order to, I think, succeed in the industry. You can't say, oh, well, I'm never going to do that one thing. I'm never going to draw over 3D models or something, because that's a decision made out of ignorance and not the practicality. It's not very practical.
There's one thing that really stuck in my and I actually have to thank Matt, because Matt, you and I, we had this conversation about learning different techniques. It's about having a recipe, you know, and whether that recipe is you photo bashing, have something that you can come back to, and that you know for a fact that works for you, not necessarily or what do you call it? Like, you know, don't conform to what you see online, but have a working method that you can rely on, and that's going to be your recipe, at least and then that way you can kind of build up your confidence as an artist, really apply yourself, and then, you know, get it at that, you know.
Yeah, and that actually segues well to what I wanted to ask you next. One thing I discovered with doing this YouTube channel is that you can always come up with your own, like you'll find techniques online and you'll emulate other artists, but it's really useful to come up with your own methods of doing things and your own ways of figuring things out. And sometimes it's not good to just jump online and try to find the answer, you know, just from a video or from a tutorial, which is ironic because I'm telling people not to watch my videos. But but at the same time, it can be really useful to try to self-explore and just try to answer questions yourself.
Shoot. Okay, I'm just gonna be realistic. I think when I was first learning, I was a copycat. You know,
Yeah.
You learn the best when you're copying or you're emulating someone else's style, which is natural. But I think at a certain point, you can feel some limitations, only because if that's all you're doing, then you almost don't have your own voice. And
Yeah.
everyone has a voice. Everyone has a voice, no matter what. And I think that's kind of it kind of segues really well when you have your own recipe, or something they're comfortable doing. Then you can really start to expand on your personal style or your personal voice. Um, like when I first started painting, I was looking at other concept artists. I was like, "Ooh, I like that style. Let me just try it out."
Yeah.
And you shouldn't really, when you're learning, you shouldn't really lock yourself to one method of drawing, try everything out, because you're learning. You know, and at a certain point, you're gonna want to kind of, you know, you know, what is Matt Zikry's voice? What is John Park's voice? What is James's voice? It's like what can you bring to the table?
Yeah,
That
definitely.
is equally as cool and inspiring to you first, and then that kind of translates to something that is inspiring for the future generations of artists.
Definitely.
A good way that put it to me in the past too, when I brought up the same, I guess, questions, was that you got to think of art as just the language. Learn your alphabet, you got to know your ABCs, and how to write sentences. And if you want to be a writer, then you're going to read other novels out there and other published pieces of work. And it's not going to be until that you become proficient in speaking the language that you then will have be able to communicate what you're trying to say in your own way and develop your own style.
Yeah, exactly.
But before you could do that, you have to understand what the language is.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because like if you try to rush into something and you try to, everybody has this happen where they get a little overly ambitious and they're like, oh, I'm going to do this epic scene. I've done this a couple times where I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this epic video game, me and my buddy, and we're going to try to do something ridiculous. But you have to go step by step, and you have to, learn your vocabulary and learn the ropes a bit.
Yeah, which I think actually is a couple of questions that were coming up on the chat. I'm gonna group them together, is kind of based off that. We have some questions asking about, can you get into the industry without using 3D, or what are some important skills that you should be learning as a concept artist, whether that be perspective or anatomy. So segment into that discussion.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say just before you guys give a more valid opinion on it, I think in general you shouldn't ask, do I need to learn something? Because you're not gonna, like, what's the harm of you knowing that extra thing? Like, you're just going to be more qualified at that point. So so even if there is a possibility that you can get a job in the industry without knowing 3D, you would just be that much better if you did know 3D. So I don't see the
right.
Yeah. So you guys can elaborate on that if you have any more input.
I guess if you're trying to learn, or if you're trying to get your foot in the industry, don't feel obligated to have things already done. Just have a single recipe, meaning like have the one thing that you can rely on, that for a fact, and that you can always rely on, because our industry is continual education. There's always going to be new software, new programs, new techniques. Matt and James earlier, that VR is going to be a huge game changer, and it's coming in fast. But the thing is that it doesn't mean that you guys should just start learning VR. You should still hone in on your basic skills to communicate an idea, and whether that's through drawing is the most obvious form of communication. If that's through modeling, fantastic, because modeling is it's advanced highly, and it's used through all parts of the industry. And if it's through VR, but make sure you have a go-to, something that you're comfortable with, to be able to express your ideas. And I think people say, start off with drawing. Like my instructors, like way back in school, I'm like, dude, just stick with drawing. And,
Yeah.
You see all these people doing paintings and stuff, but I think the thought process was, be good at drawing, because that's something that is simple, it's easy to acquire, it's direct, and it's something that everyone understands. You know what I mean? And if you can communicate a good idea, then you will most definitely have a chance of getting into the industry, because you can draw.
Yeah. And I think just for a practical reason that drawing is helpful is it's nice that you can go out into the world and get away from your computer for 10 minutes maybe, and actually go out and experience the world and sketch from real life. I know the last year I on Instagram, all I did was just do life drawings, and I would just go to the museum or just go places, and I would just sketch whatever I was looking at that day, and it paid off a lot. It really helped me. It made me feel a lot more comfortable, and it's really satisfying to be able to just go out into the world, and I don't know, you want to have that range of techniques, and you want to be able to, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good way to explain it, but yeah, I just think it's so helpful to be able to draw, even if you want to do 3D
modeling. Of course,
modeling.
I mean, it couldn't have been said better, because in the end, like, it's all just a form of communication, and you being able to go into the real world and draw from life, that's you developing your own style, developing your own understanding. Drawing is the tool that you're using to put that idea onto paper. When it comes to those basics such as anatomy, you want to be able that you can communicate it. So whatever you can do to expand that, I guess, knowledge, I think is only going to help you.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I know 3D modeling has also helped my drawing as well, because for a lot of the videos that I do, I'll research by just looking at 3D models and see how I can change the lens length, see how that affects the primitive forms, and you can go back and forth and do this kind of study, and they reinforce one another.
Yeah, exactly. Even when I was learning anatomy back in school days, I remember that I had a traditional anatomy class, because you're able to physically, sculpt the form and turn it around. So you're going to understand the form. So when it comes time for drawing, you now have a deeper understanding of it. And that's the same thing, like you were saying, with 3D, being able to understanding of how lenses work and all that. It's only going to benefit you.
Yeah, exactly.
Understanding.
Awesome. So I want to ask you guys a little bit about how you maybe got into the industry, how you, I guess your come up is the phrase.
Matt, you want to go first?
Sure. So I guess my main come up into the industry was through I used to work at a couple different schools. One of them was the CG Master Academy. I was like a tech assistant there. And through that, I met a couple different artists, and one of them was James Pack. I met him through John as well. And being able to get into Scribblepad Studios with James was, huge towards just my growth in the industry. And being able to be exposed to, how he works for his clients, and seeing just how the actual industry works is really where a lot of my knowledge came in. And that only opened up more opportunities, being able to work in games, being able to work in films. That kind of is how I got exposed to a lot of different productions out there. Prior to that, I was going to school, and it was the same thing. I didn't really understand what concept art was. Kind of knew that for film and games, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
How, I guess, what specifically they were looking for, I only understood that, okay, make pictures. So it wasn't until I was actually a little bit more in the industry that I started understanding its main purpose and how to go about creating my pipeline specifically for those roles.
Awesome. Very cool.
Thanks.
That's how I got into the industry, outside of finishing up my education at Art Center. I got a chance to learn under Scott Robertson, who I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with his book, How to Draw.
Yeah, I've been promoting it on the channel quite a bit.
Yeah, that's basically the Bible, right?
Yeah, I said he owes me some royalties because I've been promoting it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not actually. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's the one that really exposed me, to this side of the world. When I was attending college, and I was like, man, I love drawing like monsters and robots and mechs. Like, is there really an industry for that? And that's kind of where he stepped in and he took me under his wing during my time at Art Center, and we were doing some like really cool side projects that weren't related to what I was learning in school, which was product design, industrial design, and all that stuff that really didn't interest me as much. I think classes, but just professionally, I was like, I don't know if I want to really do this. We kind of get into designing, or for me, a stepping stone to get familiar with this industry, which was designing cars, things for Hot Wheels, and I was just blown away by that concept.
That's cool.
And that's kind of how it all started. It was just like cars, and I'm still utilizing the things that I learned from my education and my time at Art Center, but then that world, kind of like my eyes got really big,
Yeah.
And I had to kind of like just make a decision and say, well, this is going to be my path. I'm going to go full on and build a portfolio that's going to accommodate for this type of industry. So obviously I wasn't really the best figure drawing or character designer or environment guy, but I was really comfortable doing drawing cars and drawing robots and anything that was more hard surface based, to focus on just doing props. First job outside of Scott Robertson and outside of school was being a prop guy for a small game studio.
That's cool.
That's kind of how I got started, man.
Yeah. And
it wasn't painting, it was just drawing like boxes,
yep.
Like those little crates that you would see in games.
Yeah.
And also the other thing was like I got a chance to draw like NPC and things like that. And it just grew as my experience grew. And that's kind of how it all started.
That's great. Yeah, I think some people should they should take joy and find it exciting to draw like some simple stuff like props and boxes and stuff. I love, even just when I'm out in the world and sketching, I love just drawing a desk or any of that stuff. There's so much beauty in it. You can really just I don't know. I think it's a lot of fun, and that stuff really makes the game experience or a movie experience, that it brings it to life. Yeah,
and the thing is that and I'm going to when I say this, to kind of remind her, when you draw, when you start off in the industry just drawing, you're not locked to just doing that. It's your foot in. It's just the first thing that you're going to be and contributing. When you go home, you need to learn to become a better, environment artist or character artist or 3D artist. Like continue to keep pushing it. But if you want a job, be able to a good starting point or recipe where you can contribute and then build from there, go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to ask you about your time with Scott Robertson, because I know for me, when I left graduate school just randomly, I'll go into that after, but I left, and one of the first things that I saw was you were interviewing, or Scott Robertson was interviewing you, and you were going through your sketchbooks, and I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what I want to do. I really like everything that's going on there.
Awesome, man.
And I want to know, how was your time working with Scott Robertson? What was it like? I don't know.
I loved it.
Yeah.
He's someone who changed my life. He's one of the pillars, you know, of who I am today, just in terms of professionally. And yeah, he really did a lot for me and just for the industry, or for my generation, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like it's pretty rare for me to meet like someone that you admire go above and beyond your expectations of how they can influence and change your life. Because I grew up watching his Noman DVDs and some of those tutorials that he let out, and to meet and work with him in person was just another bonus.
That's
Much
awesome.
more invested and you know, and yeah, it was just amazing.
Damn, that's crazy.
But I mean, I think I remember Scott would always say, like, you know, don't feel obligated to stick with one thing, but have one thing to start off with.
Yeah.
You know, like if you imagine, like, if you're working at a restaurant and you're kind of getting started, imagine what would basically kind of assign you at for your first job. It wouldn't be you know, a head chef, you know, working of the job. You'll probably be doing something that's a little bit more risky, you know, less difficult, which is, you know, cleaning tables or being a server, right?
Yeah.
I still think being a server is really hard. But
I have a horror story in the service industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, all right,
So do I.
let me just tell that one really quickly because it's funny.
Yeah.
So my brother and I, we worked for this catering company. It was really just shoddily run, and our boss was an alcoholic. And
oh man.
she goes to me one day. She goes, "Do you have any bartending experience?" I said, "No, but I've made a gin and tonic at my house once." And she's like, "All right, I need you and your brother to be bartenders at this exclusive party out in the Hamptons, which is if you've heard of it, it's a really fancy area out on Long Island." And I'm like, "Okay, I've never bartended before, but I'll do it." So she sends us an email and she says, go out to this party. And the party, by the way, was the opening. It was a party for the opening of Boardwalk Empire, the season premiere of Boardwalk Empire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she sends us there, and she wrote the wrong time on the slip. So we were there 3 hours late, already into cocktail hour, and it's there on a beach. And we had to.
And there's no cocktails.
No, there's no cocktails, and we had to assemble the entire bar setup because there was this whole like weird setup that they have. And we go and do it, and we assemble it really fast, as quickly as we can. I have the app open with the bartender app, and has all the different types of drinks in there. We're breaking glasses. We're making a mess. People are just watching us. Brooke Shields insulted me personally, and then it was ridiculous. At one point, the house owners who were having everybody over, they put out these bug candles on the table, and a pile of napkins blew into the candles. The napkins went on fire, then the tablecloth went on fire, then the entire thing went on fire, and we had to just flip the table over and damage all this alcohol. It was really embarrassing. So that's my
holy shit. Dude.
Yeah, that's my server
that's pretty
experience.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and
you take the win on that one. That's insane.
And I take pride knowing that Brooke Shields does not like me.
How do you? I mean, oh man, he's just an asshole, dude.
It was just ridiculous. The whole thing was crazy.
Wow. I mean, dude, any responsibility or anything like that?
No. I think apparently our company that we worked for, they had worked with this guy or the homeowners 2 years in a row, and they said, I don't know why we went back to them. They keep sending us people that don't know how to bartend. So they didn't hold us responsible. They more just felt bad for us, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was
Insane.
one of the last times that I worked in the service industry.
Yeah, that is crazy, man.
Yeah, I won't be doing that again.
Yeah, you take the cake on that. That's wild, dude.
Do you guys have any other unart related jobs that like in the
I
past
used to be
or
a
now?
chef, a sous chef at a sushi restaurant.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I got into it accidentally. My cousin runs a sushi restaurant, and like things where I was like, oh shoot, maybe I can get a summer job out of this. And so, I used to like mess around and make like California rolls and things like that. And I was lucky enough to actually get a position at his restaurant. And I thought he was just joking around. Like, there's no way that you wanna hire me. I can't even make this for real. I can't even use a knife. Yeah, he trained me, and I was able to kind of build my way up. But anyways, like being an artist, there's a lot of downtime, and you get really bored.
Yeah.
We get customers that come in at like odd hours to eat, and you'll sometimes find you'll get customers that come in at like 4 o'clock or something, some lunch, and so there's not that many people, we're not busy, and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'll definitely take this order, and I'll help them out. It's this young couple that came in, and one of the lady, she ordered a caterpillar roll. I was like, dude, I'm gonna make this the best caterpillar roll ever. I'm actually gonna make it look like a caterpillar. So I got these ingredients, and I started sculpting out legs and shit.
Awesome.
Avocados for like the scales, and like I turned it into like a what's that caterpillar that has spikes on it?
I don't know, but that sounds dangerous.
It's like it's pretty. I made it look a lot more. Yeah, here we go. This one. I made it into that.
Awesome. I hope you didn't put toothpicks in there sticking out.
No, I
rolls.
didn't. I didn't.
Okay.
Just, for the barbs, I used basically the fermented carrots, and I used mayonnaise for like the graphics on the back, and I just thought for some reason my stupid brain thought they would enjoy it.
Yeah.
That they would love it, and that I would somehow get a lot of tip. I was like, they're gonna love this, man. So I'm gonna give this extra there. And I'm like, order ready, and I like hand it over to her, and I'm looking at her, and like just in my mind, I'm like, dude, she's gonna love this thing. She's gonna freak out, want to take a picture, and she's gonna give me the biggest tip.
Yeah.
This is effing disgusting. Right? She's like, can you please get this thing away from me? Like, I'm not gonna even attempt to eat this thing. Like I would like to just go. Can you just ring up the check, please? I was like so embarrassed because they didn't even eat anything.
Oh my god!
Not even attempt. I was like, oh dude, I messed up, man.
And you thought it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah. These people don't like eating bugs, man.
Yeah. What the hell? I guess not.
But yeah. That was a pretty fun experience.
That's funny.
Not as good as your bartending one, but that was definitely an experience that I'll remember.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's definitely hysterical. Matt, what about you? You have any funny job experiences or any just unrelated art experiences or anything like that?
A bunch.
Awesome.
I mean, I've done it all. Like I was a server. I worked at McDonald's, on a car shop. I was on the floors doing collection calls at a loan place.
Oh wow!
The technical assistant. Yeah,
that's rough.
I definitely
that's
have a lot of experience like outside of art, and
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting just the way that everything works out, because a lot of those experiences, like especially on the customer service side, really came in handy working in the industry doing freelance, because being able to just deal with customer service or even do retail, like you start identifying different personality types.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
if your goal is to actually, you want to take care of your clients and make sure that they're happy, then all of those experiences, for me at least, like, I'm able to work with anyone and, be able to quickly adapt and speak their language. And, I know this isn't a funny story like you two,
No, it's okay.
but valuable just being able to really work with a wide variety of different personalities, because especially in this industry,
Yeah.
you will meet a amount of different personalities out there. Quite vital to have a non-art related specific job and be able to get those experiences that you can then translate.
Yeah, that's a good point, because
That's pretty cool.
I think sometimes I don't know. I think artists in general have trouble interacting with people. I think that seems to be one of the least art. I don't know. One of the skills that artists don't have the most. So it is helpful to be able to I don't know, do some sort of service or just interact with people and have some other job-related experiences.
We just want to draw and paint,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
We don't want to be able to sit through this like 3-hour meeting or discuss all these problems. We just want to paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah,
Your story might not have been as funny, but definitely more insightful than our stories. What was I going to say? Do you guys ever have to, so speaking of personalities that you have to deal with in the industry, do you mostly interact with art directors? Do you deal with like more business suit types? I don't know how much detail you can go into, or
production setting, yeah, you're going to mainly deal with an art director,
Mhm.
because you're working with them side by side. I think it is pretty important to I would say from my experience, it's pretty important to communicate your ideas verbally.
Okay, yeah.
Just because if you don't do it, someone else will do it for you. And I think it kind of validates you as a artist and also as a presenter, to be able to front of your artwork and kind of of what it is that you're presenting to the audience, right? And so that's one thing that I know that is very helpful, that I had to kind of learn to get comfortable with. And I think it kind of makes you a lot more. It makes you feel a lot more professional, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
I just thought like I can hide behind my drawings and just yeah, I don't think people want to see me. I'm just gonna be a weird dude, just drawing and like painting and designing, and I'll let them use their imagination, and sometimes they're gonna want to hear from the creator, like, like what was your idea, what was your thought, and I didn't know the value of that till I started working professionally.
Yeah.
To be able to communicate your ideas verbally, and to really sell your ideas, you get everyone else, really starting to believe with you. They're just kind of like intrigued by your concept, and they want to hear more.
Yeah, I do agree with the value of that. I'm sorry, go on.
It creates a sense of value, yeah, and that to me was something that I think I took for granted, like during my youth years, like oh man, this is no one's gonna really care to hear me, or they just probably want to see some cool stuff, whatnot, but it definitely helped really bring everyone into the conversation.
Yeah. I think when like one of the things I have my students do in the group lessons and stuff is I make them describe things verbally first before they even put the pen down to the paper, because it is really helpful to be able to describe exactly what you did wrong, or what's good about it, or just to break down your process verbally, because then you know what it is that you're trying to tackle. And I found that I found that with the YouTube channel, like having to narrate everything, it makes me really analytical of the way that I do things, and I can see where your bad habits are, or where my bad habits are, or where I'm doing something well, or it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, and like I think what I find important too, that what John does in a lot of his brainstorm classes, or a student back at Art Center, is he would get together with a group of friends and have them basically tackle a project. And the benefit of that is it takes these artists who are typically people that just want to work on their own thing, and it makes them have to work in a group setting and be able to communicate your ideas, and that way you guys can kind of pitch back and forth and see how others interpret it. And especially when you're in a class setting too, working on a group project, I think that interaction is very valuable to obtain.
Yeah, because
it's going to force you to become aware of, you're going to become much more sensitive to how your communication is believed. So I find that really important.
Yeah, that's something that I actually struggle with, is working in a group. Hence why I do this by myself for the most part. It's like I don't have too much experience in it, because none of my friends are in the art world. They all do music and all that kind of thing. So it can be a little bit challenging to bring yourself into that group setting and just feel comfortable working with people and allowing people to see unfinished products and your weak points.
That's a very good point, because as an artist, like working by yourself in your office or your room, and when you're forced to collaborate with other people, you're like, oh man, there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think it's something. It's good to be able to do that. It's not that that's something that everyone is going to, but it's good to be able to do that, just because 9 times out of 10 when you're at a studio, you're going to be working with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's kind of where a lot of the team working or team building aspect play a huge part. I mean, I obviously struggled with it, because different ideas, they have different opinions, and you're just like, oh man, if you don't see eye to eye, it makes it so, it just doesn't make it fun.
Yeah. And some people can be very assertive about their opinions or the way that they want to do a certain thing.
Yeah, and you're gonna run into those, run into those types of people, and I think the best thing to do is not to be a back, but to just thing no matter what.
Yeah.
Obviously collaborate with other people, but if you can find a balance to where you can, still collaborate with, assertive people, and have them appreciate your ideas, like that to me is like ultimate win, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because then at that point you've basically won them over.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You've also kind of got the respect too, and they'll be willing to kind of hear what you have to say about a lot of things, because the fact that they respect your opinion.
Yeah.
I think some people do that better than others, just based on personal experience.
Awesome.
I found that very valuable.
Yeah. So a lot of people are asking when you felt comfortable to share your work, or to when you felt that you were capable of being professional. I don't know if it's something that you decided, or if it was something that just happened organically.
Man, that's such a good question, because I think we're all gonna feel so damn insecure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna feel like, damn, I don't want people to judge me, and my work will ever be ready for viewing, or for the internet, or for station, or whatever it is. I honestly think that it doesn't matter. Feel ready, meaning as artists, we're super critical, right? So we're always gonna feel feel like we're not good enough. What is important is to share your growth and your process.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I think the other people, they really they can understand that, and they can really kind of fit in with that mentality.
Yeah, I'm finding that as well with the channel, because at first it's really scary to share your process and to have, especially live streams where you have people watching you do stuff. It's there's going to be days where you're just absolutely bombing or you're not doing very well. But
Oh yeah.
part of
Oh
it is
yeah.
people
Oh,
joining you on
tell me
this
about it.
journey and taking they almost, not to say they enjoy seeing you mess up, but they enjoy seeing that you're still a person and that you're not just this like dissociated internet character or whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what's pretty cool is well, I one of my teachers who was like this drawing in pencil and doing these like environment comps. He was godlike. I thought I thought in my imagination, man, this guy probably farts those things out, you know, in his sleep.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
farting out like it's nothing. But he had an off day. It was weird. He was messing up and he was crumpling the paper, and he was showing frustration, like how frustration, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, holy shit,
Yeah,
this guy's a
yeah.
human being. This is insane. But it made me feel more confident in my own approach, because I was going through those same things. So I was able to kind of share or relate, you know?
Yeah.
Since I was able to relate, I was like, dude, you know what? Even if you're that good, even my teacher who is that good messes up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Who
think
am I?
yeah.
Who am I to like go in and be, and you know, just to be really critical of my own skills and say, oh no, everything has to be a masterpiece. No, screw that, dude.
Yeah.
You're supposed to mess up. If you don't mess up, then you don't learn.
Exactly.
You know? And that vulnerability was like, it was so human to me. I was like, dude, yes, this is what I needed. Now I'm pumped. Now I'm ready to go home.
Yep.
I don't know. I get inspired when I see awesome drawings and demos. Incredibly intimidated when I see awesome drawings and demos. You know,
Yeah.
because I'm like, they do that shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so to me, to know that, you know, that they struggle and that they have a process, it was very real, you know, with my personal struggles. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm trying to think. It is
I
really.
think for me
I'm sorry,
personally,
Matt. You go on.
like, sorry to cut you off, but I was gonna say, like, a lot of my confidence grew when I had the ability to share, I guess, my knowledge and be comfortable with that. You know, I mean, creating tutorials, but even teaching like some classmates in school that struggled with like a certain subject, it forced me to understand what I was trying to teach them and instruct them on, and that's where a lot of my personal confidence grew.
Yeah.
Where I can share my knowledge, because you know, before you could teach someone, you really want to understand it as best as you can prior, and that's where I kind of developed that ability, I guess.
Yeah, teaching has helped me a lot become a lot more confident. And I think another thing that I've always tried to keep in mind is that it's a lot of it's just a matter of time. If you spend the hours and you are critical and you try to grow, like always try to tackle your weak points, because I guess if you practice the same thing over and over again, you won't necessarily get better. But if you can find the points that are your weakest aspects and you try to fix them, or you know, correct these mistakes and learn from people that are better than you, it's just a matter of time. And it's not worth the notion of, oh, I'll never be as good as this person is kind of silly, and it's unnecessary. I don't think it's something anyone should ever feel.
No, exactly. And especially, like, you know, you don't have to teach a class per se, but if you could just share with one of your friends and be able to, you know, you discover this new thing and you want to share it with them, being able to communicate, that really helps. And I think what's unfortunate too with a lot of like online things is, you know, I remember myself like be like, oh, I only got like 15 likes, like that means this is trash.
Yeah.
But a better way to go about it that I finally developed was, can I take this any further? Question, you know, no, then that let me know that, okay, this is like a good, like, confident point to stop this, move on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's a good mentality. you do have to you have to not I'm not trying to say pander, but you don't want to become, you don't want your emotional state to be dependent on how many likes you got on something, or how well it's doing, because there's so many factors that will go into that.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm finding with YouTube it's very well, with YouTube specifically, there's a lot of weird algorithm things where like certain videos will be matched up with others, so they'll just do really well and get a ton of views, but it could just be your worst video and you don't even know. It's just a random factors. Like for me, the big video on my channel, the Gi video, I thought was one of the worst ones, but it just did the best for some reason. It's just it's I don't know. I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, it's some really good talking points. Like it just kind of goes to the whole mentality of like, you know, like are you doing art for yourself, or are you doing art to kind of appeal to your outside influences, or your social media.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think some, I don't want to be the guy that says like, yeah, just you gotta screw all that noise, man. It's not you don't need to worry about that. I mean, I was driven to get attention.
Yeah.
I mean, I use Facebook. Realized that wasn't going to make me a better artist. It to kind of like stay active, but it didn't necessarily like gauge whether I was improving or not.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the people who are responding to your artwork, they're not, sometimes they're just my friends who are not artists.
Yeah.
Like my uncles and aunts, and people who just like dragon Komodo dragon drawings and stuff.
I don't know about you, but I exclusively make artwork for my aunt Bessie.
Oh really?
No,
awesome.
no, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm being sarcastic.
I was like, are you serious? That's
awesome. I'm so sweet like that. No.
No, that would have been hilarious.
That would have been funny. No, I don't do that. I'm sorry.
No, you got me. But yeah, like I think that's something that I learned or kind of realized about myself. But it's interesting because when you start to develop a portfolio, I think kind of going in with the same mentality like, oh man, I don't get as much likes, so maybe I'm not good enough. And so that I can kind of hinder ability to develop something.
Yeah. You do have to do what you think is best and what's natural, and you can you can get likes from other people, but you need to do what you think looks cool, and I think that's what it comes down to. In the end, you should do what's natural to you, what's like, that's what I'm saying. For me with this channel, I just really like doing line drawing. I'm not super proficient in painting just yet, but I said this is what I'm into, and I stuck to my guns, and I just kind of went off on that for however many videos I'm at this point. But just have some confidence in your own, I don't know, in your own I guess what you're into. Have some confidence in your tastes.
Yeah. Right. And I think that actually that leads to there's a couple questions that were coming in. I'm sorry guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and group them. Some people were asking about then how many hours would you say that you're drawing or painting a day in order to improve, as well as are there any ways that you specifically deal with the physical pains of it, like do you exercise or stretch? And then on top of that, while you're improving, how do you focus on your flaws and I guess improve on that?
There's like, okay, let's talk about the exercising aspect. I think it's good to periodically stop and stretch. I'll head down to a chair. So it's definitely good to just take a breather on that. But I think sorry, what was the other question?
How many hours a day?
So
I get that
how
one.
many
a lot.
hours are you focusing?
How many hours?
And how specifically are you focusing on improving?
Okay, so I like it kind of to the concept of like, you know, you don't want to overdo it. Like a lot of it's like building muscle. So you know, if you overdo it, you can hurt yourself. You want to take it a step at a time. Like meaning, you know, when you start off, maybe it's good to just do 2 hours, but be consistent. The thing that will prevent you from learning is being inconsistent.
Yeah.
The thing that makes you better is be consistent. Do it every day, but don't do it for 12, 13 hours a day.
Yeah, I've had that happen. I've had that happen where you like there's something that I am really struggling with, and I'll just work for so many hours, and then I'll just keep beating my head against this idea, and then I get burnt out for the next few days. And so sometimes it's better just to take that step back.
Yeah, dude. And you know what's interesting is like I kind of can make a lot of people feel discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're drawing, you're like, you suddenly don't really feel the energy or motivation because you're like, I spent all day yesterday. I spent all day, you know, Friday drawing, and I'm getting nowhere with this. Screw this. I'm done. I'm not going to come back to this until, you know, next week. It's worse. I would say pacing is better because this is a marathon. You know what I mean? It's not a sprint or fastest. It's all about, you know, so it's all about just enjoying the ride. You know, like really take your time, and you know, like just focus on one thing at a time. That's another thing too. Is you know, a lot of my friends, and including myself, sometimes, you know, I see a lot of people tackle too many things at once.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're gonna get good at just figure drawing, dude, just do figures. Do figures for like 6 months, and you'll get really good at figure drawing. Do environments or just do one of those, but don't do all of them because then you're gonna equally suck at all of them. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the thing about pacing. That's what I learned, you know, the hard way, because when you're in school and when you're competing against like your peers and your classmates, you're like, oh man, I gotta do this and that, and so it's like a rat race.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
But yeah,
Very similar to exercising. It's, you know, the same way that you were saying to start it, that there's some professionals that are focusing like 10-12 hour days doing nothing but exercising, but go for an hour, go 3-4 days a week, building that up, and then, as John was saying with focus, the more that you focus your attention on every muscle in the body, then the less one particular muscle group is going to be. You know, imagine if you're going in just doing nothing but cardio and you're trying to improve your stamina, then you're going to get really good at that.
Yeah.
The way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Are there any things that you guys are still struggling with, or something that you think is like, what's the biggest difficulty that you guys have now, either professionally or in art?
I mean, for something that I've been avoiding is characters. I suck at characters. I'm horrible, man. And I get better at them one day. You know, but slowly. So if you notice, all my characters don't face the screen. You know what I mean? They're always facing away from me.
Yeah, that's a good trick.
It kind of gives me the confidence to say, hey, I can still make an image, but it's not broken. And you know, like I'll continue to paint, but the character, so it's not facing, because I don't want you guys to know how bad I am at drawing. That's something that I'm learning, and you know, art is one of those things that I love. It can be frustrating at times, but like a constant state of improvement. There's no finish line. And you gotta kind of be okay with if you guys think like, oh man, like when is this gonna be over? Like, how come I'm still drawing? How come I'm not mastered everything? Well, it's because even the masters didn't master everything.
Yeah.
It's you're in it for the long haul. It's a lifestyle, and you know, that's just the nature of this field.
Definitely. What about you, Matt?
For me, it's struggling every day. I mean, usually whenever I'm working on an image, like, you know, obviously, like, I'm putting my strengths into it, but I'll do my best to find an area that I can also learn with. He needs a character, or, you know, it's a different type of that's needed. I'm gonna do my best to keep every image as a way that I can keep learning, so that way I never become comfortable, and I'm always improving on my own abilities. So I mean, it's always going to be a learning curve. You know, I'm going to get better at environments, and then I'm going to realize that my characters suck, so I'm going to start focusing on those and realize that my props and vehicles need a lot of work. So it's always just a balancing act.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It really is kind of a balancing act where everything's going to just teeter and totter, and, you know, it's like you said, it's easy to try to do everything all at once, because it is that way where it is this balancing act, but you need to you can't just jump around so much to the point where you're wandering around quite aimlessly.
Yeah, and it truly is a language, you know. I mean, like, if you learning English or Spanish or French, like, you kind of want to be committed to one language before you jump on to the next.
Yeah.
Because, you know, once you're committed to one language, then you're able to learn other easier. And, you know, you can always, at least, you can still refer back to you know, you've mastered.
Definitely.
Whenever you need to use them. And so, yeah, I always tell, like, my students, and even myself, I'm like, dude, this is a language.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm still learning how to say full sentences. You know, I can't have a conversation just yet.
Yeah.
You know, sooner or later.
So one thing I want to note is that sorry, Matt, were you going to say something?
I was just gonna, like, add on to that and say that, like, the cool thing about that is every time you learn, like, aspect of the language, putting that in your sentences, like, when you understand pronouns, you know, that's the equivalent of, okay, I now know perspective, anatomy, and put my figures into perspective, and then I know composition, so I know where to place my figures in order to have, like, the best interest on the screen. So everything, it's always going to be that giant balancing act of being able to learn one thing and benefit everything that you've had prior.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So I wanted to say, I like how one thing I really like, John, when you're doing this, is that every line that you seem to be doing is very deliberate. Like, even if you Control-Z or go back a little bit, everything is very deliberate. It's not, I think a lot of people, when they start digitally painting, especially myself in the beginning, was you kind of just try to struggle through this fog, and everything's really soft edged, and you're just trying to, like, grasp at straws until you get an image that looks cool. Whereas this, it seems like you're very certain about a lot of the choices that you're making.
That's what I'm making you believe. I'm not.
All right, that's fair.
There's something that I learned is, but I am certain, and I really like that, because I think art, a lot of art is really just, it's an opinion, right? But if my opinion in a painting or drawing form comes off, like, confident, then suddenly you guys start believing me. You're like, dude, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. No, not really. You don't know what I'm doing, but I'm making you believe, and that's the beauty about art.
From what I can tell, is, like, a lot of your brushstrokes are there's just solid chunks of color, and it's not like, some people will have, like, 1,000 different values in 1 square inch, whereas yours might just be one value, and it's I think that makes it seem very confident, and it makes it seem like there's very bold mark making.
Oh, thank you. You're
welcome.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting topic. I mean, what would you say, John, has been your focus when doing these studies and these sketches? And, you know, what is your mentality when you approach one of these? What are you trying to get out of it?
Let's see. What am I trying to get out of it? Practicing my my recipe, you know, and I'm going to keep using that analogy, meaning I'm trying to solidify my approach when it comes to these types of paintings. You know, because I'm still constantly you know, experimenting and trying different things. But you know, like outside of the theme, you know, because I've been really enjoying these dragon these Komodo Dragon Rider things, which are heavily inspired by Jamie Jones's work, by the way. I don't take any credit for this. I really like the process of what I'm learning, because when I do another image, suddenly you know, I remember kind of like what were some of the shots from my previous image, and I'm basically I'm refining my process. I'm refining my approach, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, like that's kind of been the thing. Like, yeah, I don't want to get a job doing, you know, Komodo dragon paintings. You know, I think I would be very horrible at it, just because, you know, like the anatomy is something that I'm still like double checking, which is why I have this. I'm like, I don't think it really looks like that foot, but you know, whatever. But you know, it's just going back to the core essence of just like, you know, I'm painting, you know, and I'm learning how to come up with my own approach of painting and just having fun.
Nice. 10 years later, we see John is doing Bob Ross videos painting Komodo dragons.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, hey there, hey guys, how's it
He's got a giant
how's it
afro.
going?
For his own card game.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll try to grow that Asian afro.
There you go. I'm working on my afro as we speak right now. It's
Awesome.
coming along.
Nice.
I know some people might have just jumped on, but maybe I can show you guys a basic breakdown, just so that, you know, what everyone is watching is somewhat educational. There is this thing I saved, this image here, and this is a study that I did. This was off of a photo, but I figured I'd share kind of my process in terms of like how I ended up here. Anything on here? Is there? Oh. So basically, the first thing you want to think about is the graphic read. And the graphic read really just kind of reinforces the composition and the overall foundation of the image, like on a simple thumbnail. So that's what's important, which is graphic read. Step 2 is in and breaking up those graphics. What I did here was I broke up the larger shapes internally with smaller shapes, just to kind of create some variance and some interest. Now, obviously, when you look at it at this size, it looks abstract, but contextually, you know, when you see all the other surrounding elements, this becomes a mountain. And that's where it kind of brings me to my next step, which is adding in additional shapes to help reverse what it is that you're looking at. This is where the graphic sketch becomes a lot more, you know, there tends to be some substance, some real familiarity, and can understand. And then from here, then it's just polishing. You're adding in clouds, details, you know, like specular highlights and things like that, all that technical stuff. And then I added kind of like a zigzag form, which I'm going to show you guys here. Of course, the long lens with some sense of perspective. This is something that is very much off of, like, you know, classical artists like Edgar Payne does this. If you guys don't know who Edgar Payne is, be sure to look.
Oh, I need to put that in my book list. That reminds me.
Edgar Payne. Edgar Payne is a fantastic environment landscape artist. He works in traditional media, but I found a lot of his methods to be very, very educational, and also just a good reminder, you know, because sometimes I forget how to kind of push skill and push you know, dynamism into my artwork. And then just I added a little bit of a little to kind of give it a little difference, you know, so that it doesn't look like a boring, you know, wheat field or flower field.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, just add a little satellite here.
That to me
But
sells it.
That's basically process.
That's great.
What's that?
I said that to me, it just really sells it. I don't know why. Just something about it is just it's
weird,
so
right?
cool. Yeah, it's unexpected.
It would have been cool. It would have been, yeah. It's unexpected. And I think you know, that's kind of where, you know, as artists we should always strive for that. You know, to sell a story or to do things that are unexpected. And that's kind of like more or less what I'm doing here in a nutshell. And I'll show you guys the drawing that I had before, which was this guy here, drawing, and then just kind of building up my colors, you know, to kind of get a sense of hidden structure. I know a lot of this stuff it's just a lot of layering, but you know, the core of the image really started off kind of here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you build all that stuff up, it just becomes, you know, you're just adding layers after layers, and that's kind of where I ended up here.
Very cool. Very cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I have a problem with, particularly when I'm painting or doing photo bash. I think it's easy for me to tend towards too much detail, particularly with photo bash because there is so much detail in it.
Right. I struggle with that too. I think one thing that helped me or reminded me of doing a successful photo bashing is, you know, try to treat it if you can. Meaning, try to simplify the image.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't get too manipulated or by the amount of information that's presented in the photo. Narrow it down. Try to like distill it into, you know, just 3 major things.
Yeah.
You know, which is the composition, the lighting, and the overall message of the image. You know.
Awesome.
That will make it a lot more easier to tackle or easier to accept. That would be my recommendation.
Awesome. So I have two questions. So one, I guess it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. You had mentioned in the previous example that you were talking about using a long lens shot, and something that I found that's been really helpful is actually, if you have access to it, using the camera itself and trying these different lenses out. Between 3D modeling and actually like going and taking photographs and filming, it really helps teach yourself how what those distinctions are, because at first it seems very abstract and very confusing. I'm wondering if you have any similar instances.
You know, I haven't done as much photography as I should. I think a lot of my sense of camera or use of camera comes from doing really light modeling, but a lot of just actually kind of watching a lot of movies.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, like I remember like storyboarding, because I was doing a little bit of storyboards at one point, and I was like, oh man, I wonder why they use that close-up or why they use this lens. Provide a certain emotion or a certain point of view. Learn the value of, you know, what camera, you know, that director was using or the director of photography was emphasizing, but why that had so much of an impact. I think outside of that, I don't know too much about the technical side of like a 70mm lens is how it's different from a 80mm.
Yeah, well, I don't know that specific either. But yeah, I think that's a really great way to do it. Like you said, when you're watching movies, even I was doing this as well, taking a look at some of the films and seeing what types of lens they were using. And they really do have a distinct tone. Like I was watching this, it was this period piece, and everything was really flat and calm. And you could tell the whole movie was shot in really long lenses. And doing those sort of mental breakdowns and just, again, putting it into words, it's really helpful to study that way. And just making observations in your environment.
I think too, for those that, you know, don't have the ability to have access to a camera or that don't know 3D enough to play with it, is you could try the things, if you're trying to learn composition, hop on Google Street Views or open up one of your favorite video games and hop into the camera mode.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, I did do that Foundation Patreon video where you go on Google Street View and then you go through it and then you do the matte painting. I did that as well. It was a lot of fun.
Right. It's awesome because you get to come up with your own composition. And that's
Yeah.
when you get your own like artistic style as far as creating composition. And I think that's a real cool way to. And if you're trying to learn specifics, another good resource out there is Marcus Mateo has a book called Framed Ink, and he goes over a lot of specifics regarding camera lenses and composition and value breakdown. So I highly recommend anyone check out Framed Ink to check it out.
Yeah, that's an amazing book. I actually have that one in my list. I have a book list on Discord that I spam out to everybody.
Awesome.
All right, so what's I'm sorry, go on.
Let's see. I have about 5 more minutes before I have to head out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to talk about any questions or any other topic?
Let's see. I know people have been asking a lot of questions. Some people have been asking if the brainstorm classes will ever be online. I've been getting that a bunch. If I look over at the chat a little bit.
Brainstorm classes will eventually it will be online. We're still kind of working out some kinks, mainly because we're a physical school.
Yeah.
We're trying to like solidify a lot of current physical classes. I will, however, be preparing online content for our for the online portion of Brainstorm. I know it's really hard for a lot of people to fly out because you got to fly out. You have to find places to rent and whatnot. So we're trying to make that we're trying to transition over to being online. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely keep everyone posted.
Do you have any recommendations for some of the international students, looking to learn and develop their knowledge?
I think if you're international and you're like obviously your resources are kind of only limited to online learning. I think what James has on his Patreon is great. What Matt Zikry and I run on the good stepping stone into kind of getting familiar with concept design and drawing as well. And there's just so much alternative resources out there. Like you have CGMA, which is a great online resource as well, and also Learn Squared. If you guys want to learn some of the more advanced techniques, they do a great job of teaching. I will say this: like, nothing will ever replace a physical learning, meaning being in a classroom.
Yeah.
Communicate. Hang out with your friends, with your other classmates. To draw on to see other people's artwork in person, it's hard to create that experience online. And there's something that's really, that kind of gets you really motivated when you're to school as opposed to learning from home, just because you're there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As if you're at home online, there's kind of this like disconnect,
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's something that I would just kind of keep in mind when you guys are learning. Gumroads and all that stuff is great. I think that's great for learning techniques or learning like a one-off assignment. Yeah.
I think for me too, when it comes to learning, one thing I found real important is knowing your specific learning style. Some people, they learn by watching, some learn by reading, and myself, I know I'm one of those that I learn most by doing.
Yeah.
So I can watch 100 Gumroads and not improve because I never put it to practice. So that's what I find most important.
Yeah, definitely. People need to trust their gut a little bit and just try to recreate what they see. And you can you can get all the resources that you know from the internet as possible, but it's great. You just have to go out and actually try to execute it and do that yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. Well, first of all, thank you so much for coming out here. I really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me? I don't know if you have any questions for me about the channel, about I don't know.
Hey man, I'm just really excited to be here. You know, thank you for inviting me and Matt out. I would, just a shout out. I love to get you out to brainstorm and work with me and James.
Yeah, we would love to do that. I'm coming out in January, so maybe we could meet up then.
Oh yes,
Nice.
please.
Yeah. All right, great.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe we can all get together and in California or in LA, we have awesome taco places.
Awesome.
Matt and I, we can show you some places that will literally put your butt on fire.
Perfect. We've been doing hot sauce challenges on the live stream, so that's good. We're ready for that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, there's some places that will definitely give you some fireria. That there's a bathroom in a 10-foot radius.
Perfect.
It'll be good, man. It'll be really good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's hilarious.
I can't wait. I'm mind blown and I'm stoked, and I really can't wait to be out there and hang out with you guys. Matt, I don't know if you can stick around or if you have to go. You're welcome to stick around. I think I'm going to sketch for a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually do have to be taken off fairly soon, but I'd love to, come back in some fat.
Yeah,
I love doing these type of things.
Awesome.
Yeah, why don't I mean, Matt and I, we can both coordinate with you, James, and maybe we can make this like a once thing, or I'll try to join you on these on the podcast, because it's just really nice to connect with other artists out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and also just kind of see what everyone else is up to.
Awesome. I would love that.
Spread the word.
Great. So, thank you so much, guys.
Man, thanks so much. Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. Oh, sorry. Cool. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate it. You made my weekend. So.
Oh, thank you, man. This is awesome, man. Thanks for inviting both of us.
Thanks for having us.
Not a problem, guys.
Everyone, have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Keep drawing.
Yeah, we will. Take care.
Later.